Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. 'Tis I, Mike Martins, your housing discussion guru, and I want to welcome everyone to another very special edition of Trends in the Housing Market. I kind of want to throw this out there. I want to say a special thank you to, I forgot his name. Please don't be mad at me. It's someone that's been emailing me a lot and sending me messages and articles from Mark. Thank you, Mark. I want to wish him a very special happy birthday today. Special shout out to him, who is watching my show right now, live, burning the midnight oil. Anyways, guys, 'tis I, Mike Martins, broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia. Trends in the housing market. The dates today. What is the date? Let me just mouse over. Today is the 19th day of July 2018. Tuning into Trends in the Housing Market. Trends in the housing market is getting bigger. It's getting popular. It's getting out there. You know, mind you, my reading isn't getting any better. I still have a grade 6 reading level, but I think it's just my mentality. It just won't allow me to get any better. Like, you get reach a certain level and then that's it. And then with my age kicking in, I'm going to be 40 soon, so yeah, that's all factoring in. Anyways, I got a really star-studded show for you guys today. I'm really excited. This is a really good show. Let me put my thinking journalistic cap on so we can get and kick off some of these stories. I got a message here, so if you guys want to send me a message, go to my Facebook link on top. I have a fan page. It's in the Portuguese language, but don't panic. Click on it and then just send me a message. It will auto-reply in Portuguese. Do not panic, okay? It's okay, you know? So, anyways, I got this from somebody that really wanted me to read this, and I am going to read this. So, here goes. Hi, Mike. Real Australian citizen here. Just call me John Smith. I watch your housing show, and you say you want data. I have studied economics and business at the university in Australia and privately all my adult life. I invest in stocks full-time and I am a homeowner. Our government lies about employment figures and everyone here knows that. The true average income in Australian dollars is $27,200 after tax. That is 20,000 US. Unemployment is only Australian dollars is 15,000 US, 11,100 after tax. But you must work government projects. So I guess that's if you're working on some Section 8 or government support. I guess you have to projects 10 hours a week for the mere Australian $287 a week and look for work. Rent is about, so that's unemployment. I think it's called UB40. I know. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, Australian $287 a week and look for work. Rent is about $270 a week. City life is not worth it here. This crap. I keep getting up here. Forget Sydney or Melbourne unless you want grandma's basement. Healthcare is the best thing and... Hold on, let's move on to this one. Healthcare. It cuts off halfway here. It's the best thing, and it's basically free for all. Most people actually live off their parents, but don't want to talk about it publicly. 80% live week to week due to the lack of education. The majority of highly educated people are flat broke. The government owns many houses here that sit empty, ignored, and unmaintained. Those are the facts. Here I am considered super wealthy, but in realistic terms, I am not. It is just everyone else is dead broke. People will tell you otherwise, but they are lying to try to impress. Exactly. I want to thank John Smith for sending me that from Australia. And it means a lot to me when people kind of tell me what's really going on and how they feel. That, you know, people want to share this with me. It means something to me. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. And so I wanted to read that email. I get lots of emails and stuff. So if you guys want to message me, don't hesitate to. Let's get the comments rolling here, man. What's going on, man? Let's go. What's going on? Let's get the comments. There's people watching. So, you know, get these comments rolling. Where is everybody today? In the trends in the housing market special edition. Yeah, I'm starting nice and early today so we can have a really good show. I can take my time. Then I have some time. After the tonight's show, I'm going to be watching The Goonies. I'm going to finish watching The Goonies with my kids. Anyways, okay, forget about the United States. The real housing bubble is in Canada. So this is from yesterday's article. This is a really good article I want to throw out there. Unlike the United States, where 30-year mortgages are the norm, the standard mortgage in Canada has a 5-year balloon payment and adjustable rates. Woo! Woo! And then someone says, much in the same way, rising interest rates decimated U.S. buyers with arms during the last crisis. Canadian home buyers are vulnerable. What's an ARM? An ARM is a term. An ARM could be a 6-year ARM, a 5-year ARM, a 4-year ARM, and you're basically locked into a term, and your amortization could be 30, 40 years, depending on how long you want to carry the your debt on your mortgage or whatever you want to call it. Canadian stocks are likely to underperform U.S. stocks, and much in the same way, rising interest rates decimated U.S. buyers with arms during the last crisis. Canadian home buyers are vulnerable. Okay, last week I covered certain areas in the U.S. are overvalued and likely to see prices decline. So we know what these cities are. It's Seattle, Tacoma, like weird cities too. And then Nevada's going up like crazy. Tons of places in California where it's just way overpriced. Parts of New York. Massachusetts is out of control right now. New Jersey's out of control right now. Connecticut's out of control right now. Maine's out of control right now. Ontario's cooling down. Ontario, Canada's cooling down right now. So, okay, we got some people in the comments. Gordon Smith, love this show. Gordon Smith, I love you, man. And Didine256, I'm considering moving to Calgary as Vancouver is unaffordable. What do you think of Calgary? I was in Calgary a month and a half ago. It's quiet. It's there. It seems like, there's people there and stuff. It just... I would think outside of Calgary, like Canmore, Alberta. Look at Canmore, Alberta. I made a video on my Rants and Lifestyle. Look up Canmore, Alberta. It's a big enough city. It's just after Banff. It's before Calgary. It's close enough to Calgary that you could go for if you have to. Strongly recommend to look at Canmore, Alberta. Look at photos. It's not big and it's not small. Population is just perfect to open a small business or to get yourself off the ground. So let's go back to this article here. Mortgages in Canada are typically adjustable rate. Home buyers by the millions are piling into housing with quickly rising prices and adjustable rate mortgages with low interest rates. Unlike the United States, which heavily promotes homeownership through government policy, Canada has never set a monetary or fiscal policy to explicitly favor home buyers or encourage people to buy homes. Oh no, you got the media for that! What are you, out of your tree? You got the media! Oh, fear of buying out. You got these shows on City TV or City Pulse, whatever you call them. You gotta buy. If you're out, you're gonna be out. You don't need government help. You just read the media. And everyone worried about getting bought out. Parents buying condos for their kids and their grandkids. Hello. We got the media here to help us out. We got those little staged corners there where people come on with their shirt and tie. You know why I don't wear a shirt and tie? Because I am a respectable person in the community. When you wear a shirt and tie, it gives the illusion that you are a respectable person in the community. I don't need to give that illusion. Anyways, Joshua is commenting, fractional reserve lending practices ensures asset inflation. The entire world is grossly overpricing assets that require loans for the average worker, cars, homes, boats, etc. Exactly. And what's happening with this, it's things are getting people's lives are getting destroyed. People are selling themselves out before they even could pay down 10% of what they owe. They're fully maxed out already. And people are never happy. And that's the problem. If you were to buy your house and your car and you were and a couple of bits of furniture and be happy with that and pay that off, I would say no problem. No, but then you want expensive painting, things, and then you want this, then you want to buy a better car, then you want a fur coat, and then all this crap starts happening, and you think you're young and healthy and you could live another 30, 40 years. I would rather live another 30, 40 years poor, but happy, and die happy. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, Canada has never set monetary. We got that 5-year balloon number 2. Canada was spared from the housing crash first time around 2008 because there were never a significant amount of subprime loans made in Canada. I found a great article from Cleveland Federal Reserve on this, which I highly recommend you to read. However, this time around, adjustable rate mortgages and sky-high prices mean that Canadian consumers will feel the full force of interest rate hikes. On $1 million mortgage, 2% rise rates will cause a payment from roughly $5,500 to $6,750, nearly a 22% increase. If this happens, which is likely given that the central bank in Canada hiked rates again in last week, properties will flood the housing market in Toronto, Vancouver, and other major cities. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Someone's commenting here. Gordon Smith saying, "What do you think of Northeast False Creek development in Vancouver? Who's gonna be able to afford to live there?" Well, here's the deal. Most of Vancouver, I know the False Creek area. I remember when they were building up the Olympic Village there, and everything was going good. I was there during the Olympics. I love it. I just love it. Everything there is pretty much empty. Everything's out of reach. And if anybody owns, they come for a week or two, play some tennis, and then take off for the rest of the year. And Vancouver is no longer for the Vancouver proper. If you're born and raised in Vancouver and educated in Vancouver, there's a very good chance you can't afford to live in Vancouver. And I'm not trying to say this in a bad way. I'm just trying to promote people to get out of the damn cities. They're turning into ghost towns. And if you do live in a populated city, like, for example, like Vancouver, okay, no one wants to talk to you anyway. So what's the point of living in a populated city when everyone avoids you? It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? So it doesn't make any sense. You're filling one need, but then taking away from the other need. It's like you're not getting anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Those towers I see empty. Then someone says, "I guess this is what it feels like to live inside an asset bubble." Joshua saying, "I feel like I would like to see realtors who are buyers. Agents guarantee that they will pay buyers underwater value if the home value is less than they bought it for in 5 years from now." Oh, Joshua, it's not 5 years from now, sweetheart. It's going to be like 10 months from now. You're going to start seeing. Right now is the summer of the great Australian, Canadian, UK blame game. Right now, the articles, it's the blame game right now. All these articles I'm reading is all blame. Is it the foreign investors? Is it the government from not clamping down on free markets? Is it the banks for not putting good mortgages on the books? Is it the lender themselves for lying and putting fraudulent documents to get the loan approved? Is it the underwriter for approving the deal? Is it like, who do you blame? It's the great Canadian blame game. Do you blame the baby boomers? Do you blame the millennials? I've been reading articles about everybody blaming me, blaming everybody. You know what I'm saying? And realtors holding so much property right now. That's what Jeff O'Toole is saying to me. Blame game, I love it. Joshua says, "Don't call me sweetheart, no problem." And hard to live outside of the city without a driver's license and a car. Any savings got spent on having a car, you can't win. Yeah, you do need a car when you're in a small town. But my car insurance went down. $700 a year. So I'm paying less than $800 a year for my car, full coverage. So... And then someone's commenting that says, "It all comes down to low interest rates and the bank giving everyone a loan." That's everyone walks in, gets a loan, right? Well, I didn't get my loan. I went in and said, "I want to buy this house right here." I went in. I was going to put 30% down because interest rates were low, and I was going to lock into a cheap rate. And they wouldn't touch me because I own my own business, and My income isn't high enough, and they wouldn't touch me. So then I called back and said, I am gonna do 50% down. And then they said, no, we can't do it 50% down. I'm like, holy smokes, are you serious? They're like, no. So I just came and bought it outright. They just didn't want me to own a house. You know what I'm saying? And they could check my bank account when they see, like, okay, this guy has money. He could just buy this house. Why don't we just let him, you know what I'm saying? If he defaults, we take the house and whatever money you put down. But the bank they just didn't want to do it. And my credit is not that bad. I have no R's, anything. Everything's all R1. Everything's paid off. It's because I don't have a continuous credit. Because if I buy a car, I pay in cash. If I buy, something, I pay in cash, Anyways. The one says, it all comes down to low interest rates, and yeah, I read that one. Jeff O'Toole says, hey Mike, if houses come down to reasonable in Van, are you going to go back? Never. Never. Never, 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 never. Now this is from the New York Times, and this is very interesting. What is this? This is Vancouver. Why? Well, in Vancouver, a housing frenzy that even owners want to end. Facing crisis of affordability, officials are trying to reduce the real estate demand through a package of tax measures, some aimed at foreign buyers. Vancouver, British Columbia, between multi-million-dollar teardowns. I gotta open this link. I'm sorry. 2.5 million. Yeah! $2.5 million. 2.5 mil. And this is just an average. This is this house right here. I think my house is like triple the size of this. 4.3 million bucks. And watch when I'm done my house. I'm gonna make my house look real nice, people, when I'm done with it. I'm gonna do a series, my Living the Dream series. I'm gonna keep going and showing you little different updates and different things I got going on, different projects I got going on. Alright, I just wanted to just take a gander at that. Here is a new one. Vancouver is so expensive that politicians want to tax its real estate market into submission, and many homeowners who will lose money if home prices fall think it's the best idea they've heard of in years. I would like to see the correction to sober up this whole place, said Rob Welsh, a retired airplane mechanic who lives in Vancouver suburb. Mr. Welsh bought his house in 2000 and has become a paper millionaire based on its appreciation. It makes him more anxious than happy. If I got to lose $200 or $300 to keep my kids and the future of this place, so be it, he said. Like many cities around the world, Vancouver's grappling with punishing housing costs that have pushed out large swaths of residents and are causing distress among young adults who can't afford to rent today and take it for granted that they will never own a home. Part of the recession is the attraction of Vancouver itself, and not just among Canadians between its natural beauty, its temperature, climate, and Canada's liberal immigration policy. The city has become a magnet for foreign buyers, especially from China. Yeah, so when I'm in downtown Vancouver, guys, when I'm in downtown Vancouver, the city is very, it's a small city, but it's very narrow. Streets are super narrow, very hard to, there's not a lot of people out though. So like if you go Saturday, Sunday, out to the busy parts, it's dead. Everyone left the city to go home. If you go during the week, it's packed. Like Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Tuesday at noon, lunchtime, man, it's packed to the brim. People everywhere that come on the SkyTrain, that come from far away. 40 minutes to 1 2-hour commutes. And then someone saying, oh, there's beautiful mansion near my house in Woodbridge, Ontario, $3 million, 15,000 square foot. Great deal. Yeah, and then Jeff O'Toole says, yeah, they want houses to come down 10%, not 50. 10% is a correction, says Jeff O'Toole. But what would most people say about this story? They would say, hey, now, Delusional Mike, you are crazy. Yeah, Delusional Mike is crazy. That's TJH in the comments. I was on the seawall today. It was busy downtown. Not as hot today. cloudy, and high humidity. Yes, during the week it's very busy. Very busy with people taking their lunch on the seawall and people this. And then boom, after 6 o'clock, it becomes like a ghost town. Last year, in provincial election, almost entirely about the housing costs, citizens voted out centre-right BC Liberal Party, which had run British Columbia for 16 years and brought in a government led by the left of centre BC New Democratic Party. Since then, the New Democrats have not only tried to increase the housing supply, but have also proposed a slew of measures to curb housing demand and chase away overseas buyers. The New Democrats raised British Columbia's foreign buyers tax to 20% of homes purchase price from 15%. Ontario has 15% tax. In addition, the party plans to impose higher property taxes on second homes, on families whose primary breadwinners' earnings come from money abroad, and homes valued more than $3 million, $3 million Canadian dollars, 2.3 million US. Vancouver has passed the number of local measures, including tax on empty homes. There's no question that many of the measures we are bringing in are bold, but we feel they were critical. If we were really going to address this crisis, Carol James, British Columbia Finance Minister, said in an interview. The condo project called Vancouver House, housing prices have soared even though the supply has grown faster than the past decade than the city's population. There's Bob Welsh, the retired guy, aircraft mechanic. This would seem politically perilous. 2/3 of Canadians own their homes, roughly the same share as in the United States, and Canadians, like Americans, expect to make money from the investment. Yet, a number of polls and interviews with homeowners like Mr. Wells suggest that Vancouver rates are so shocked at the price level that even homeowners want the market to cool. In 2016, nonprofit Angus Reid Institute in Vancouver found that roughly 2/3 of residents in the metropolitan area wanted home prices to fall, including half of homeowners. More startling was that the 1 in 5 homeowners in the survey expressed the desire to see home prices fall by 30% or more. No doubt many voters would think twice about that option if home prices actually crashed. Still, respondents were clearly reacting from a place of deep anxiety, even desperation about their own or their loved ones' ability to access the housing market. So it's going to be hitting because you know why? A lot of these kids are getting older. This is going on 9-10 years now in Vancouver, and a lot of these kids that were 10 are now 20, and they can't buy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Jimmy Anderson, hello. Mike Martins, hello, Jimmy. Donald G, excited to see what the fall/winter holds in store. And then Rainer Mola says, Montreal's next bidding war is happening everywhere. Oh yeah, 1 trillion% in Montreal. That's where everything's moving, you know what I'm saying? The Jeff L2 says, Juan, if I went to my bank and said, give me a loan with 35% down, no questions asked, they would walk me to the door or laugh me out. And SPT is in the comments. It's about time. Saying hi, Mike. Watching live. Said more or less what I had to say. LOL. Oh, the comment's hidden. Then it's gone. Then Double A says I wish I could afford a house. TJH says Mike, the guy you did a video with, Formifist and Owen Bigland are having a video feud. Formifist says that there will be a big housing correction. And Owen says that there will be a 12 to 25% correction, then prices will go up steadily forever. So, here's the deal, guys. Let me tell you the plan. Like, let's say we're generals. We're all generals in a private meeting. And we're all looking at a map and where we're going to attack, where we're coming in from, where we're going to, sweep, or where we're going to flank. We're all standing around a table. And we're looking at the Vancouver housing crisis. There's 2 things that could happen. 2 things, and I said this last time. 1, we're going to look at the possibility where housing prices will start falling out of the bottom, just like they did in Toronto. And likely to fall even more, where Toronto 2017 gains completely got 40%, 46%, 40% wiped right out. Or Canada's going to do something where they bring in more foreign investors to fill the void of leaving Canadians. There's two scenarios. So that we're looking at our strategic plan on what's going on, and we're looking at every possibility. The only two I see is one, it falling out and completely just banks foreclosing and real estate agents fleeing. You start seeing a lot of things like that happen. And credit unions closing down, or shadow mortgage places that gave out, disappearing, or things happening, right? And you start to see, you could feel the vibe in the city when stuff like that starts happening. I could feel it when I was in Toronto a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Anyways, or Canada plays the angle and brings in more foreign investors. More foreign investors with money. Now with the, the birth tourism, where there's a lot of women in BC right now ready to have a baby to give them Canadian citizenship. Look it up, birth tourism. And look up the article, guys. Canada wants more Chinese investors and lucrative business people. They're looking to bring in 500,000. Now they want to up the quota to 700,000 to 1 million per year to come in. So that's the only way they can keep this Ponzi scheme going, is by bringing in more offshore money. And it band-aids the problem for a while, but the war will end eventually. You'll win that battle, but you still won't win the war. And the war would be the crash coming down at the end. And that's just plain and simple what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and Foreman Fist is on Vancouver. Yes, I know where Foreman Fist is. He said he's going to come and visit me when the weather gets a bit cooler. So is Mario DeSetis, the Lost Canuck. So is Steve the Plumber. Lots of people coming to visit me. My man Owen, I hope he's watching. Anyways, Rainier Mola says, not true. Just give you an idea of luxury properties in upscale neighborhoods went from 1.5 million to 2016 to 2.4 million today. Yeah, but that's all the casino money that's been flowing through casinos. That luxury condo has probably been sold 7 times to the same 2 people, back and forth. There's articles about it. Do you know how good that is? That you could clean $2.4 million? If I had $5 million that needed to clean, I would buy a luxury property tomorrow, like this. I would buy it for $2.4 million, and then I sell it for $2.45 million. And then I automatically clean in the Canadian bank $2.45 million. Oh, it's worth it. The price goes up a bit because I paid asking or over asking. Oh, I pay over asking. I pay $200,000 over asking. You know why? Because I'm cleaning more money. Instead of layering money, I'm just outright cleaning $2.4 million right off the bat. So that's a great way. And then sell it back to my neighbor, and then my neighbor buys it, and then he buys. I'm not talking about my neighbor on that in that condo. I'm saying back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, prices should go down to last time rates were at this point. And then Jeff O'Toole said, this is happening in Brampton. Yep. TJH says, Mike, they say foreign buyers are just watching to get their permanent residency cards. Then they will start buying like crazy again. Yep. There's lots coming in. Jeff O'Toole says, houses change hands, but nobody ever moves in and moves out of the house. Yeah. So basically, let's say I'm living in Portugal. I own a house in Vancouver. I go to my neighbor and say, hey, I know you're doing this business and you want to move some money into Canada. It looks like Portugal's going to go down. Government's falling apart and they're taking people's bank accounts. Hey, that's a great idea. I'll buy that house from you there. Boom. Arrange it with the thing. Boom. He buys the house from me. I don't even go there to see it. Then Buddy sells me back the house again because I have more money I need to drop. So it went up 500,000. That's great. That's less money I have to launder later. Then put 3 million, then 4, and then it just keeps going back and forth. It's easier than layering money. Back in the days, people, what they used to do was they used to launder money through layering. And what they would do is open a nail salon, open a massage therapy, and they'd hope nobody would come in. They'd just sit there all day watching movies and TV. And what would happen is they would layer the profits that they supposedly made into clean money and pay taxes. But that takes too long to layer money. It could take up 10 years to layer enough money to buy a house. So what they're doing now, they're just buying property straight up. Put it right in, sell it to your neighbor buys it back from you, and you just keep going back. There's reports, you can look it up, that the house has been flipped 18 times between the same two people. And then some, too early today, someone said, Jeff O'Toole says, the fraud that goes on is insane. Jimmy Anderson says, Mike Martins, check, Zillow.com. The housing in the West Coast and East Coast, it's crash check. Check it out, Mike. I'm trying to show you the prices in these cities. It's crash check. It's a crash. Check it out. It's a crash. Oh yeah, for sure. Because they're pulling properties off the market later, like earlier, so they don't stay too long on the market, and that starts fudging numbers. And then TJ says, flipping, so true. Let's keep going here. Next article. So this is bad, people. People are even asking for prices to go down. What do we got here? City News. Oh, it's a video. I hope it's based off a true story.
We're out hundreds of thousands of dollars.
How stressful has this been for you both emotionally, financially?
This has definitely been the most stressful time for my wife and I in our whole lives. We didn't think the government would step in as quickly and as dramatically as they did. And even if they did, who really thought it would have such an impact?
That interview was from last June with a homeowner named Bruce. He was caught up in the early 2017 housing crunch, and like many people, Bruce bought a house before selling his old house. And around the same time in April, the provincial government announced some new housing regulations, which included a foreign buyers tax, and the housing market in the GTA took a dip. Well, today, for the first time, we're learning just how much money people lost in the housing game during a tumultuous 3 to 4 months.
The sum of all of those losses was about $135 million, and that was just adding up really all of the declines from the peak prices that buyers paid to the prices that sellers eventually sold their homes for. The average decline was about $140,000, but much higher. Like in Richmond Hill, the difference was about $300,000 between the price that was sold at the peak and what sellers eventually ended up selling it for months later.
John Pisalis from Realosophy looked at a combined 988 properties that lost a combined $135 million in just 134 days. His research also found that the biggest drop in housing prices were found in places where the highest number of investors purchased homes and put them up for rent. For example, in Toronto, where about 15% of all properties are investments, prices only dropped about 12% on average. In the first quarter of 2017, a third of all homes in Newmarket were purchased by speculators. And when the market turned, prices dropped more than 20%. Some who purchased a house in the peak of the market then got stuck with their old home and had to back out of their deals. Pisalis said many of those individuals are now getting sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars by sellers.
This is money that those buyers are on the hook for. So, not only did they lose their deposits, but in many cases, the sellers are now suing those buyers for that difference and winning in court.
We caught up again today with Bruce on the phone. He asked me not use his last name. He says since we spoke with him about this time last year, he was fortunate enough to find bridge financing to carry both the home he bought in Toronto and his family's York Region property they were trying to sell. But he had to pay 10% interest on a $1.2 million financing deal for more than 3 months until their old home up north sold.
Ours went from 1.1. People were selling our street for 1.1 within a week, and we ended up selling 2 months later for 800. So ours went down over 30%. We were at our lawyer's office trying to somehow close this deal, and there were 2 other people that weren't able to arrange last-second financing like we were able to, just normal people, and they lost their whole life savings, lost the whole thing.
Bruce says the drop in housing prices should serve as a warning to governments when they intervene, that it's not just investors and speculators that get hurt, but regular everyday people. Now, ahead on City News, we're going to compare the bubble burst in the housing market here in the GTA to the housing crash in the USA between 2006 and 2012, and some of those numbers might shock you. Earlier on City News, we told you just how much money people lost in the housing hoopla last year. Well, the housing market took a pretty big dip in about 3 to 4 months. About 1,000 homeowners in the GTA lost $135 million. Now, the data is being compiled by one broker here in the GTA, and he says that in the height of the housing rush, we saw about 1 in 5 properties being purchased by investors. And he says those investors were banking on the good times to keep on rolling.
The people who are buying these investment properties were just buying single-family homes. I mean, so in Richmond Hill and Markham, for example, they were buying $1.5 million homes on average and just renting them for $2,500 a month. You know, and that rent isn't enough to cover carrying costs. And the reason they were doing that was because they just believed that the home would be worth $300,000 more a year from now. It was incredible. I mean, on average, these homes in Markham and Richmond Hill, these investment properties, because we knew the rents, we knew what people paid for them, they were losing on average $2,500 a month. That means, I mean, you, the investor, are paying out of your own pocket $2,500 a month to carry this investment property because you just believe it's going to be worth more in the future. And it didn't work out very well, no.
Still, John Pasalis with Realosophy says the foreign buyer's tax that was rolled out last April was just a small pin that pricked the housing bubble, but it prompted wary buyers to take a step back while sellers rushed to put their places on the market, and that triggered a historic North American housing dip.
Prices dropped 18% between March and July, so 4 months, which is incredibly rapid. I mean, that's faster than any of the U.S. cities when they had their financial crisis. I think the fastest was Miami, and they saw prices fall 20% in a year. And the average was about almost a year and a half or 2 years. So the 4 months in the GTA was very rapid, and kind of really partly explains why we had so many people backing out of deals, because prices fell 20% in 4 months. You know, the home that you bought for $1 million was worth $800,000 4 months later, and that causes all sorts of problems.
Now, the difference is, according to Prasalis, that the housing market here in the GTA stopped, while in the U.S. the bottom continued to fall out. Now, as for the future, he believes that things have stabilized here in the GTA, though he says one part to keep an eye on is the condo market. As the price of condos continues to creep up to the price of a house, he says that is cause for concern.
Now, I want to add a quick comment on this. The guy's paying 10%. Remember that video earlier, just at the 3-minute mark of this video? He stated he's paying 10% on $1 million. 10% of $1 million is $100,000. He's paying $100,000 a year to borrow $1 million. I have to keep calculating it in my head. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe it. I don't even know what to say. Someone say something in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Lots of comments here. I thought I heard Ontario lost $35 billion last month. It did. Double A, it did. He's talking about the 100 articles, the 100 units he's been following. The 100 units. And then Jimmy Anderson said Zillow is exposing the housing market. Yes, I'm going to go on it. I'm going to do a whole Zillow show for you guys, okay? We're going to be looking at properties that were on the market, taken off the market, and how long they've been on the market. Jeff O'Toole says stabilized, not bloody likely. That's correct. Jimmy Anderson says, thank you, Mike Martins, for the truth and keep up the good work. I will. Owen says, hey, Mike, I'm in the house. It's about time, man. I did 2 shout-outs for you. You didn't even say nothing. Jeff O'Toole says, greed. SSPT says, $2K rent on a $600,000 is not enough for the owner-investor. That's correct, because it doesn't, carrying costs, it doesn't work out. And Rayner Mold to 10%. Are you kidding me? I'm pretty sure there's better rates for private lenders. That's what the guy said in the thing. The guy said he's paying 10 points on $1 million to cover his mortgage. 10 points is $100,000 a year. 5% on $1 million. Okay, it's get $50,000 a year in finance charges, right? Yeah, but that much? But 10% on $1 million? Man, I don't even think loan sharks charge that much on their VIG. Because if you look at the VIG on a loan shark, it's not even that high. That's pretty high. You know what I'm saying? Then TJH says, and the shame is the greedy builders will not build affordable housing. They will just build expensive units for money, all about greed. Speculation in both cases. Well, okay, at the end of the video, he stated that condos are creeping up to housing prices. Do you know why? It's because condos are still within the affordable bracket for most people. That's why condos and townhomes are moving up faster and creeping up into detached housing territory because of that. Mind you, I would say they're at par because of strata fees. Yes, on paper you're paying less, but then the strata fees kick in, you're paying more. You're paying, if not, the price of owning a house now. So, and then the buyer should have done more research on his options. Then someone says, TJ, if we're you, would do the same. And Dylan Lopez in the house, baby. Mike, what happens right before they go down? That's what happens. That's correct. Jeff O'Toole, why are people obsessed to buy? Jimmy Anderson, thank you. Mike Martins. And Jeff O'Toole, condos depreciate. Brother John's in the house. Hey, buddy, what's up? So good to see you. If you could go back to the beginning of the show, if you could scroll back, it's a pretty good show. I'm only in the third article, and we're on fire here. I said stock market crash 1929, and this housing crash will have speculation, greed in common. Double A, I have to add something to what you just said there, because a lot of people don't know. One of the major reasons why the stock market crashed was because the housing market was out of control, and nobody ever talks about it. Talk about real estate market during 1929, Black Thursday or Black Friday, whatever it was. Look up what the housing market was at that time. It was out of control. But no one ever looks at the housing market during the Great Depression. They always blame the stock market. Okay, so because someone will eventually say, oh, hey, a house is only 5% more than a condo, the price ticks back up into detached. That's correct. Jeff, they're trying to make a buck or two of FOMO, fear of missing out. SPT says for $600,000 house rent to break even, you need to receive at least $7,000 rent. KCC says you can get more rent in a condo. And then TJH says Mike is spreading the word, all truth, but many still call him Delusional Mike, and YouTube suppresses his channel. Of course, guys. You know how to take advice from a guy that's got a grade 6 reading level. You gotta, I just want to create discussion. I just want to talk. That's it. I'm not here to disprove anybody here. I'm not here to make up stories. I'm just here to, talk. We're talking. Okay, Brother John says gold and silver on sale. Oh yeah, I've been stacking gold for 7 years now, and tons of silver too. Jeff O'Toole, yeah, I thought we were supposed to get 1% of value for rent per month. When did the rule go by the wayside? All right, guys, next article. Millennials are flocking to Vancouver despite the housing crisis, says UBC demographer. So, where are these millennials coming from? That's the main question, right? Vancouver, mountains and public health care. What led 34-year-old Katie Marshall to move to Vancouver this summer? At a time where the pervasive belief is that millennials are fleeing the city in droves, which is happening. But Marshall is, in fact, one of the thousands of millennials moving into the Lotus land despite high housing prices. There's a lot to love, she explained. I'm a distant runner and I love to hike, and so that is much more manageable for us in Vancouver. I don't want to knock Oklahoma. It is lovely, but there's a distinct lack of mountains. Okay? There are so many young people making the move to Vancouver that newcomer millennials make up significant percentage of population growth according to the demographic of the University of British Columbia. Marshall, a zoology professor, grew up in Kitchener-Waterloo area, lived in Vancouver for 3 years. After she completed her PhD at the University of Western Ontario in 2013, she took a job in Oklahoma City in 2016, where she settled into a comfortable life, renting a 3-bedroom house for $1,500 US a month with her husband and research assistant. But she missed a Canadian waterfront city known for its wildly unaffordable housing prices, so she accepted a job at the University of British Columbia and last week moved into subsidized housing at UBC, where she pays $2,600 per month for a 3-bedroom apartment. She called the rent mind-blowing. We've come in far too late to ever completely contemplate buying unless the housing market were to suddenly crash. So that's it. People, like, more millennials are moving in. So, article here if you guys want to read it in full. Let's move on. How speculators inflated the Toronto housing crisis bubble. The height of the mania. Investors. Oh, this is an old article. Sorry, guys. It's an old article. I'm going to get into a few of the old articles maybe sometime next week from about 6 months and a year ago. And we're going to see how if they were correct on their predictions on what they thought was going to happen. Okay. Yaletown is only a place where I pay these prices for a condo. If I'm forced to buy, it would be the best chance of not losing the investment. Tokyo real estate man's in the house. Yeah, baby. People like urban locations. Then Double A says, well, PhD sounds like she can't afford a house. Now, well, you're still in a student loan trap, right? Unless you paid it off, right? Owen says, Jeff, what if they have a family? And then Dylan says, $2,600 is subsidized? Wow. Owen says, in a 1-bedroom with a family? No, it's not going to work. Get a second job, work 15 hours a day to pay your rent. A PhD, and she can't afford a house? Yeah, hello? Old article. We're going to get into some old articles from about 6 months to a year ago. I know I said this a few minutes ago, but I think I want to do this so we could actually look at where things... how right a lot of these people were. How on the spot when it came to forecasting the housing crisis. Housing bubble concerns. This is from Source Weekly. With increase in home prices reported in last week's article, I have been asked by many people if we are staged for a correction or whether we are in a housing bubble. While recessions are inevitable in our economy, whether there will be one in the housing market is highly debatable. Freaking mosquito in my face. Most frequently cited for a factor of rising home prices is lack of supply to meet demand for housing, said to be responsible for the rising prices. And guys, you know we've debunked that on the channel. There's lots of supply out there. So they keep playing the supply versus demand issue, and that's an old story. They've been saying this since the time of Moses. They got to get off that. It's unaffordable, and people can't afford. As long as that demand continues, it will fuel upward trend in prices. Building more is not the solution, and pressure is on to find ways to open housing availability to first-time mid-range buyers. Once the first-time buyers are out of the market, it's over, guys. It's finished. That's what's happening in Vancouver, in Toronto, and other cities like Seattle and stuff. Is first-time home buyers can't get into the market. Period. Like I said, when kids were 10 years ago, when kids were 10, they're in their 20s now. They can't buy. A lot of people in the 60s, they bought when they were in their 20s. So things are changing. This housing crisis is being such a big hindrance. It's holding people back from getting married. It's holding people back from having kids. It's holding people back from starting a family. It's holding people back from a life. Okay, hey Mike, just wondering, are you a real estate investor yourself? No, I own my house. The only thing I invest in real estate is this house I'm in. I bought this house, and that's it. That's it. I invest in other venues. I don't want to invest in real estate. It's risky. It's not as liquid as it used to be. It's and then if you want to rent and then you get bad tenants, it turns into a 6-month nightmare evicting them. It's not worth it, people. No way. So many other venues to make money clean, and and not have to get into this predicament. What if. SPT says a $600,000 condo as private investment, renting as income, turn back full investment without them yourselves as an owner with a mortgage or free or clear. $6,000 rent a month at least. TJH says Mike has no time for real estate investment. He is going to be mayor of Merritt. Yeah, no, I might run for council and see what happens. Where was that? Jimmy Anderson says Mike Martin's business insider says housing starts a 9-month low news alert. Yep. Just like in the UK, housing in the UK has gone down for the last 16 months, every month. Millennials that graduate with a PhD equals pretty high debt. Owen's right. Okay, Jimmy Anderson, everyone Business Insider says housing starts a 9-month low. Jimmy Anderson says that again. Tokyo Real Estate says no, correction is possible. People been calling for it for so long, including me, but it never comes. And then TJH says real estate investors have to put up with Pacific Heights type stuff, like the movie. Pacific Heights is so good. Guys, if you want to watch a good movie, okay, movie recommendation time on my channel, please watch Pacific Heights. Please watch Pacific Heights. It is such a good movie. Pacific Heights with Michael Keaton. You will love the movie. Okay, guys, I got to continue with these articles. The slideshow here. Financial advisors might want to warn potential home buyers. Buying a house hasn't been this hard since the financial crisis. In the second quarter, U.S. housing prices were at their least affordable levels in the third quarter of 2008, according to Q2 of 2018 U.S. home affordability study from Atom Data Solutions. Recently, home prices have been rising faster than wages. Meanwhile, mortgage rates are also increasing costs for home buyers. The median home cost is $245,000. Oh my God, $245,000 in the U.S. and they're fighting about it. You see, in Vancouver, we have to wait till a teardown goes to $2.4 million before we decide to do something about it. But in the U.S., the median home cost is $245,000. Coming from where we are here in Vancouver, Seattle, or Toronto, or London, or Sydney, or Melbourne, or Auckland, $245 is what? That's a down payment. And a lot of parts of the U.S. make more than we do because they pay less taxes than we do. Oh, Mike, minimum wage is $6.75. Oh, okay, but it's a work-free state, and guess what? You take most of that home anyway. All right. The fact that Canada emerged relatively well from the last financial crisis seems to have bred a sense of Canadian exceptionalism that making people blind to good sense. That's Ricky Tomatoes. Bitcoin's going up thanks to Tether. I was reading an article about that today. Garbage cookie cutter condos are selling for millions of dollars. It's all people talk about, and the ads you see are for the glib real estate hucksters and cheap debt. Okay, guys, I'm going to get back to this article. So they're fighting right now in the U.S. because the overall median home price in the United States is $245,000, up 4.7% from a year ago. That's 4.7%. Okay, if you go to Seattle, okay, because, you know, Seattle is bringing up the median home price across the country because Seattle went up, what, 7% last quarter? 7%? It's gone up like 50% in the last year since they put up the foreign buyers tax in Vancouver. Everyone went down south to Seattle. Annual growth in the median home price outpaced the average growth in 275 of the 432 counties. Scroll through and see the list of what's the lowest home indexes. All right, here's a comment on that. Oh, slideshow. Michigan. Denver, Colorado. This is worst home affordability in the last 10 years. Adams County, Denver area, Colorado. Adams County. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Wilson County, Nashville area, Tennessee. Travis County, Texas. Alameda County, San Francisco. Santa Clara County, California. And Oakland County, Detroit area, Michigan. San Francisco County, California. And that's it. Woo! And then Brother John says the median price of a home in the U.S. is closer to 200. Yeah, I'd say 190, 200, because you got cities like New York, Seattle, Portland, San Diego, LA County. You got all those other cities bringing up Boston, bringing up the whole median value more because of those huge numbers are just bringing the median benchmark value up. So yeah, I think Brother John's on the money with that. I think it's like 190, 200,000 still. And then someone says, let's watch the Pacific Heights movie trailer. I think my video will get flagged for copyright infringements. I would love to, actually. Love to. Okay, let's continue, guys. The top 10 New Jersey towns faring the worst since the housing crash. So here it is, people. So here it is, the crash right here. And then boom. I keep getting these fake pop-ups here on my screen saying, do you live in Merritt? And you need an Asian beauty in your life. So I keep getting these pop-ups from my clip converter from when I'm converting video clips from YouTube. A slow statewide recovery. So New Jersey is in a lot of problems. But look, they're freaking out over the current median value of 109,000. Drop. Current median value 62,000. So I mean, this is still very, very within affordability. You know what I'm saying? 140, 54,000, 289. Like, you know. Let's move on. New 35-story condo tower to rise in Tampa's Channelside area. There's the new condo. What's happening with this condo? Okay, someone's saying clip converters love giving Mike sexy pop-up lady ads. I thought you were going to talk about Playboy ads in a video sometime. I will. I want to do a Ranson lifestyle. I'll pick. I have a Playboy magazines on PDF. I'll remove all the nudity from it, and I just want to read some of the ads of what people were thinking in the 1980s. I just want you to see some of the actors when they were so young, when they were pretty much kids. and Robert De Niro, all those guys when they were children, pretty much in the year 1980. I really want you guys to see it and look at the ads for alcohol and how they used to picture, you know, what a man was and what a woman and all that stuff. You know, it's really cool. You know what I'm saying? Someone says it's a Trojan. Reinstall your PC. It also a keylogger. Yeah, I'm just gonna just wipe it probably. No big deal. Tampa, 35-story condo tower with just 2 units per floor is expected to start construction in the booming Channel side early next year. Tampa-based Mercury Advisor announced Wednesday that it had obtained a construction financing for $74 million, which would be the third tallest residential building in the Tampa area. Each floor would have just 2 units, with a 3-bedroom, 3 bathrooms, and expensive city and water views. Prices would range from $800,000 to $1.8 million. We think now is a great time to move forward, but there really isn't any product to compete with us, and that can get the market. So I'm trying to see. I guess it's just an advertisement for that. Let's move on. Trouble ahead for U.S. housing market. The medium family cannot afford the medium home in several expensive coastal markets like San Francisco, Bay Area, Los Angeles, and Seattle. I keep bringing those cities up. For every 1% that mortgage rates rise, housing prices will fall roughly 7% baseline. That's a really good rule of thumb. Every percent mortgage rates rise, housing prices will fall 7%. In Canada, I see more like 9 to 11% for every percentage point it goes up. The United States is forecasting and looking to raise interest rates anywhere another 2, 3, 4 percentage points in the U.S. And if they do that, Canada's going to have to find a way to catch up. Either they're going to have to start producing something in Canada. They're going to have to actually start making electric cars or something. Open 50 factories building electric cars and supply the world. There's no other way for Canada to catch up. It's got to create, I don't know, like maybe $2-3 million better paying jobs than what's out there right now. I don't know, guys. So they're going to have to raise interest rates very soon in Canada to keep up with the changing times. Section 8 causing hyper rent increase and eviction crisis. Tampa condo zones like for basketball and basketball players. Loose lending standards from Canadian banks were driving real estate market. What do the banksters care if it implodes or not? Every loan they give out will be insured by taxpayers' money. Exactly. The working poor will. That's JY in the comment section, by the way. The working poor is just going to have to pay for it, period. The working poor, there's no middle class. Okay, guys, let me tell you what my definition of middle class is. Okay? Middle class is you pay your house off in 3-4 years. You have 2 cars. You're paying for your kids' education, not student loans. And you're looking to buy a cottage. That is middle class because those people have disposable income to spend on money whatever they want. That is middle class. Working poor is saving 20 years to put a down payment on a house, or working poor is working 2 jobs just to cover your rent. That's not middle class. I'm not talking down to anyone that's in that position. I feel for everyone working hard and trying to get ahead in their lives. Believe me, I do. And I know it's hard. And I'm really trying to fight to make things not more fair, just more of a balancedness. If you work 70 hours a week, you should be able to afford to pay your damn rent. I think that should come with it, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay. So anyways, the medium family cannot afford the medium home and several expensive. I already said that. Borrowers will not be able to pay back their loans if the economy slows. New buyers will be unable to buy homes at current prices when the interest rates rise, which will create another fall in housing prices. Consider avoiding stocks that suffer from real estate slowdown, such as home builders, small, mid-sized banks, and mortgage companies with heavy exposure to California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, and Florida. So here are the states right now that are seeing huge gains. Look at this. You know why? You know why this is going up like this? See this right here? It's because everyone's leaving California. Remember, the population in California is like 30 plus million. Everyone's leaving to Oregon, and then people from the north, from Vancouver, went to Washington. And then all the American proper in Washington, Oregon, and California are moving east to Nevada, Idaho. And then Indiana, sorry, is that Indiana or Idaho? I think it's Idaho. And then moving to Utah and Colorado, and then I think it's Wyoming there. And Montana are starting to get the brunt of it. So is Arizona and New Mexico. Texas is getting pretty up there. Look at that. Texas is in the middle. Look at Texas. Remember, guys, all my exes live in Texas. There's the 1998-2006 Fed data. While meltdown is in the same scale of 2007-2009 is unlikely. It is abundantly clear that when the medium family cannot afford the medium home, a correction will happen sooner than later. Take the San Francisco Bay Area, for example. The median income in the Bay Area is roughly 20% since 2011, and housing prices have gone up 80%. The median income for the Bay Area is roughly $90,000, but the median home is over $900,000 in value and rising fast. Compare that to Dallas-Fort Worth, where the median household income is $60,000 and the median home price is $230,000. It is equally clear that the median family in Dallas can afford their home and the median family in the Bay Area cannot. This can be proven with a simple online mortgage calculator. I keep showing you guys these calculators and how to check them out. Check out what your TDS is, TDS calculators. Check out your LTV, see what your loan to value is on your home and stuff like that. So here it is. Mortgage rates over the last 25 years have never sustained an increase. So here is in the United States, the mortgage rates for the last 25 years, and everyone keeps saying that the housing fixed rate mortgage averages, here it is. And a lot of people keep saying, oh yeah, no, rates don't move. Yeah, housing is going to keep going up. Wow, hold on a second. Holy crap, look what rates are back in the day, in the 90s. Wow. It's over 10% in 92. The banks must have been paying 5, 6, 7% on your savings back in the day. Back in that time. Okay, let's move on. An Aussie millennial in London has been slammed over her saving plan for a house deposit. All right, let's watch this. Let me close the. So it says, let's say you have enough saved for a deposit. The hard work's paying off, right? Not exactly. Actually, buying the home is just as exhausting. First, let's find a lender. Don't trust yourself to find a good one. Consider consulting a mortgage broker. They can also advise you on districts, like first homeowner grant, stamp duty, and blah, blah, blah. Once you found a lender, they will work on how much you can borrow. Be honest with how much you can afford. You don't want to be stuck drowning in mortgage repayments. Once you get pre-approval for your loan, you could jump into the property market. Before you can make an offer or go to an auction, you'll need to conduct inspections and get the solicitor or conveyancer to look at the property. Bills, it's also a good idea to find out what's going on and might have costs be involved. Council rates and strata costs. Strata. Now it's time to take the plunge. Or you could put your deposit in the bank and have some smash to invest. Okay, there's nothing in this thing. Aussie millennial has coped a fierce social media backlash after complaining about her struggles to save for a house deposit on her 6-figure salary. Katie Smith, 29, lives in London, where she works as a project manager on a high salary of 70,000 pounds. That's 123,000 Australian dollars. The median gross annual wage for people working in inner London is 34,000 pounds. For the UK as a whole, 22,000 pounds. In the article, how I live on 69,500 salary while saving to buy a 2-bedroom flat, part of the news outlet New Money series, she described these radical changes had to make in order for her home, including canceling her gym membership and foregoing extra drinks at the pub. So this is it. Pension contributions, travel, mobile phone contract, shopping. So she broke down this thing to allow her. At the same time, Kate enjoys the luscious life of drinks and getaways. Her social media posts boast a lifestyle, fancy dinners, cocktails, and friends. Overseas holidays have been taking her away from to Turkey, Italy's Mafila, coast of New York, whatever. Okay, so where's this thing here? How I saved to buy a flat with the wage puts me 5%. The first thing I did was to move to a cheaper house share. Then I canceled my gym membership and started going running instead. So what's wrong with this? Oh, I see. People are making... Okay. How I saved to buy a flat while bringing in a wage that puts me in the top 5% of UK earners and will not make you want to smash your head into the desk. Okay. Wow. Rich woman cancels $150 pound gym membership and stops getting taxis everywhere, and now she could afford a flat. So easy. So I guess they're just trashing her. Yeah. So they're just trashing her in the... Wow. They're just destroying this girl in the comment. Holy smokes. Let's move on. Housing starts plunge in June by 12.3%. Buyers are finding fewer homes at higher prices. Okay, where is this, guys? I think this is in Australia. Consumer Affairs, Consumers News. I think this is Australia. House builders cut back sharply on construction last month. No, a bad sign for U.S. housing market. The report showed that housing starts to plunge at 12.3% and seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.173 million units, the lowest level since last September. The size of the decline was the largest since December 2016. Few building permits issues, stalling issues, your typical issues, and it's driving housing prices down. So plunged 12.3% in the United States. The Irish Times. And then Rocket STI says, market won't crash, bank keep lending. Steve the Plumber, 198 houses in Niagara Falls, 10% sold, and the rest walked. The rest have walked. And then TJH says, yeah, lots of news about that. News about builders. And then Jeff O'Toole says, any news about them? Kevin Thompson, hey Mike. Jeff O'Toole, Niagara, I thought that was the crash out land. Kevin Thompson says, prime rate 3.85 by now. Used to be able to lock in at 2 points. Kevin Thompson, people that locked in are voting. And Mel Video says millennials would rather travel to work, travel the world, staying at Airbnbs, and have nose around their neck in the form of 30-year mortgage. Oh, that's true. All right. Housing undersupply have severe long-term consequences. The housing crisis, if left unresolved, will have a severe macroeconomic consequences in the number of fields over the larger term, the parliamentary budget of BPO has warned. The BPO was established last year. So same thing in Ireland, they have the BPO. And then I think in Australia, they have another one, the Royal Commission or something. So they're putting these commissions into place to make sure they could get things are not going on the books that shouldn't be, and people are not getting ripped off, which they have been. So overruns, taxation, economy going down. Is what's happening in Ireland. Ireland is going over, and I've been talking about this right now. In Dublin and Belfast, they're going with the supply versus issue, which is not the case. It's affordability. Things are still pretty much in affordable range there. Not if you want to compare it to London. This map shows that London is an epidemic center of house pricing crisis. So I looked at this the other day, and look at this. Everyone's leaving. Not leaving. Sorry. Painted. Let's look at the colors here. Where's the legend? I saw the legend for this the other day. Let me see if it opens a legend. No. Then there's the argument of economist Francis Coppola that tweeted on the map with the comment, "There's no housing crisis. This is an algorithmization effect. That is, more and more people and jobs are being sucked into London down thread," she added. So there's a lot of crisis going on in London. Housing prices have been dropping. A lot of companies are relocating to Ireland and Scotland. A lot of people, millennials, have left London to Middle England. So this, too bad there's no legend here to tell us what the colors represent, so I could be more in depth, but it doesn't. Full version, open new tab. There's nothing here. Oh, okay. So this is where they're up and down. So everything here is falling. 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 There's no data up there. I think it's Ireland up there. And then I don't know what is showing here. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Housing starts to tumble to a 9-month low. Construction workers are pictured outside a new home in Vinny, Virginia, outside of Washington, October 20th in 2014. So what low are we looking at here? When's this article from? Oh, this article's from 2 minutes ago. Okay, routers. U.S. home building fell to a 9-month low in June as permits declined for third straight month, delaying a blow to the housing market as it struggles with dearth of properties available for sale. Higher lumber prices and shortages of land and labor are constraining home building. The housing market is lagging overall economic growth, which appears to have accelerated in the second quarter and hitting a soft patch at the start of the year. Housing starts to tumble 12.3% seasonally. That's the 12.3% I got in the other article, people, in the United States. Adjusted to annual rate of 1.1 million units last month, the lowest level since September 2017. The Commerce Department said on Wednesday the percent drop was the biggest since November 2016, and both single and multifamily homes construction declined in June. So, building permits dropped. Dollar slightly extended losses against the basket of currencies after the data of prices of U.S. Treasuries rose. Let's move on. We already read that in the other article. Nashville housing downturn in 2020. So Nashville is looking at a price drop coming 2020. Could 2020 be the year where everything crashes? Jeff O'Toole saying this is just funny money. Hopefully people didn't go crazy things like borrow against their equity. Everybody 97% people borrow against their equity. If you watch my housing crisis videos during the week, I read an article where there was hundreds of millions, if not billions. What is it, 4.2 billion? I can't remember what it was, where people borrowed against their HELOCs. better dwelling. Right here. There it is. Canadians have borrowed $201 billion in HELOC debt, over 30% in Toronto and Vancouver. So Toronto, where prices have gone down, people have borrowed against that equity. Canadians owe more than $201 billion in HELOC debt. Second mortgages is what it is. So here it is. There's Vancouver. That's other, sorry. There's Toronto, Vancouver. So you see a lot of people borrowed against their equity. No, it says that many people have done that, leveraged themselves to the effect of 95% or more. Okay. Okay. The people that bought or that borrowed equity when the boom was going up in Toronto in 2017 and borrowed that equity, and then a lot of places were giving 110% loan to value. So they were giving actually 10% more than what the house was worth at the time. The people that took those second mortgages are crying in the wind right now. Crying in the rain. All right, let's keep going. Reserve Bank focuses on household debt risks. That's exactly what we're just talking about. This is in Australia. High levels of household debt fueled by record low interest rates and easy access to finance, and particularly prominent in Australia's real estate market, the Reserve Bank has warned. The central bank's board was briefed on the household debt bubble and its more recent meeting of the fortnight ago, and detailed discussion agreed that the debt exposure made households more vulnerable to the economic shocks. In the minutes, the RBA board meeting on July 3rd, members were told that the global growth in household debt levels had outweighed the household income. Yeah. For the past 3 decades, a trend that was particularly notable in Australia. 2 key drivers of this trend across countries have been the decline of nominal interest rates and low inflation and financial deregulation, both of which have increased households and access finance, the minutes noted. Amid the rush of recent years, mom and dad investors pumped money into the real estate. The RBA signaled that many ordinary borrowers are extremely exposed to fluctuations in the housing market and the economy. A distinguishing feature of the Australian housing market is that the bulk of dwellings are owned by the household sector, the minutes observed. Households with high debt levels are more vulnerable to the economic shock. So, guys, people borrowed using their homes as ATM machines and borrowing what they can, buying that car, fur coat, diamond ring, expensive vacation. Yeah. So this is a big issue that's happening, people. And it's not the second mortgages, too, that are the problem. It's the auto loans. It's the unsecured debt. Woo! Look at this girl. Married girls won't leave you bored. Wow. Anyway, so it's the unsecured. It's the what do you call those credit cards? The revolving debt. Your blended rate. You're playing a blended rate with revolving compound interests. It's turning into a disaster, people. Pay attention. This is not good. Our GDP looks great because we're spending, but we're not spending our own money. We're spending borrowed money. So, what are you drinking, Mike? So, someone says, Steve the plumber says, what is that in your huge jug, bud? Vodka? No. I'm not drunk, guys. It's just lemon water. I put some lemon in here and I infuse it overnight. And then I put some raspberries from my garden. I got these massive... I'm going to make a video of my raspberry bushes. They're huge. And I pick up every day like a huge Ziploc bag full of raspberries. I freeze them and then I eat them frozen. It tastes like chilled monkey brain. It tastes really good. Okay, who's the guy that's in here that's a real estate agent? We need them. We need real estate agents on here telling us that the market isn't, that the market is doing well and prices will keep going up. I hope someone could comment in there. Let's keep moving on. Will falling house prices trigger the next Aussie recession? It's definitely headed that way. House prices are falling, auction clearance rates continue to drop, and there is such a sharp lift in the number of properties for sale that for the moment no one is willing to buy at the giving asking price. So Australians are breathing a sigh of relief down under. Things are starting to kick back to normal. Prices need to go down another 40 to 45%, respectively, with the incomes that they make. So they got a long ways to go. So people waiting on the sidelines, you just got to wait a bit longer. Potential house buyers who have held off taking the plunge in the hope of falling prices seem to be staying away. That's exactly the information I just gave right now. Perhaps hoping for further price falls, but also influential factors forcing buyers away is extra difficulty getting loans approved as banks tighten credit standards. Then there are concerns about job security and associated awareness and probable cash flow difficulties given the weakness in wage growth. So guys, here's the deal with this. In the 80s, if you walked in with the paperwork you have today, the bank would have declined you right at the door. You would have walked in and said, oh, this is sir, we can't give you this mortgage because you can't afford this. Now, banks, they just give you anybody a mortgage. And that's what happened. They weren't following the book. They got a little loose. They got loose. Steve the Plumber says, how the heck does a market about pricing continue to go... Whoa. Everything's moving so fast. Pricing continue to go up. People can't qualify for mortgages and the interest rates are absolutely going up. Because they must. And then Kevin says... Jeff O'Toole says, the market is crashing, McMahon. Volumes are down 50% in the GTA. What you call that? Then Kevin Thompson said, invest with a mortgage broker that writes private mortgages. Oh, Dr. Ted's in the house. This is the same issue in the 80s where they assumed real estate would never drop. Yes, Dr. Ted was alive and well at the time, and he could tell us what was happening in that time. It is remarkably obvious that house prices will continue to fall and possess a range of risks to the economy. So research from a range of analysis, including Reserve Bank of Australia, show a direct link between changes in housing and wealth and consumer spending. Let's see what this thing is. This music or is this thing?
One way for 30 years. Down. In Australia, home ownership in Australia has been heading one way for 30 years. Down. Labor plans to disrupt that trend by limiting negative gearing and halving the discount on property capital gains tax.
We want to make sure our tax system isn't subsidising people to buy their 7th or 8th home at the expense of first home buyers.
But a new report warns Labor's approach could further damage some markets that are already stumbling. In New South Wales, the drop could be 9% for houses and units. In Victoria, 9% for houses, 6% for units. Queensland, 6% for houses, 7% for units. In South Australia, 6% for houses and units. In Tasmania, 3% for houses, 2% for units. And in WA, a whopping 10% for units.
While the potential fall sounds steep, the market spiked sharply in the 5 years to July 2017. In Sydney by over 70%, Melbourne around 44%, and in Brisbane, Adelaide and Hobart by more than a sixth.
Experts say any reform must encourage the building of more owner-occupied housing.
The policies would need to be implemented in conjunction with a coordinated supply response.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
There is a lot of buzz about electric cars.
Okay, so that was from Australia there. Let's move on. New Zealand. ANZ economists suggest that our expensive housing is affecting the economy's productive potential. Of course it is. Once the middle class has no disposable income and everything goes towards rent, guess what? You're not buying anything. And when you're not buying anything, you're not keeping people in work in the retail sector and the consuming sector. It's gone. Oh, I love lemon water. ANZ Economist says the impact of okay. In the article of the latest ANZ Property Focus, Chief Economist Sharon Zollner, Senior Economist Liz Kendall, and Senior Macro Strategist Philip Brokren said that not only does a high hurdle for purchasing homes have impacted implications for wealth equality, generational equality, equity, and financial stability, but it also affects the economy's productive potential. So this is true. High house prices make it more difficult for younger households to invest in businesses, limiting the entrepreneurship endeavors of young people. So less people starting businesses because they got to pay their damn rent. They also create barriers to labor mobility and social mobility, both which matter in achieving our productive potential. You know, people make a bit more money, they could buy a car. That keeps the auto manufacturers in business. Auto manufacturers aren't going down the last couple of months because, you know, it's costing more to build cars or anything. It's nobody's buying cars anymore because everyone's losing the equity in their homes and people can't afford that extra payment. People aren't buying cars anymore too. And the less cars get, then less jobs get, more jobs get cut. It's a domino effect. It just affects everything. Long-term solution required that more supply can be made available in the future and not just more houses and are available now. To do this, more land needs to be made available with steady future pipeline in train, and measures need to be taken to improve the capacity and flexibility of the construction sector so that it can respond to demand pressures. Productivity improvements and construction will help. Clear plan for migration, and then it goes right here, productivity and GDP growth. This is a very important graph when you're looking at the GDP and of a country and stuff. It's very important to look at the labor productivity that follows with it, because this is a very important. See right here in 98, right here in this time, 98, 92, 98, you had this is when things were fine. This is when people were making enough money to actually afford to buy something. You know what I'm saying? Then the growth dropped in 08. That's when the big drop. And that's what everybody, the GDP growth spiked just a bit towards the tail end of 2008. And then things are just haven't really changed, haven't gotten better. So a lot of people aren't buying anymore. Too many barriers in New Zealand. But the housing prices is going down. Let's go here. QV's average property values have fallen in Auckland, Tarananga, and Wellington over the last 3 months. Vendors warned against unrealistic price expectations. So this is what's happening right now. Prices are dropping in New Zealand. Price reduced signs everywhere. I have people in New Zealand telling me that prices are going down. So quotable value is warning flattering or falling house prices mean we are now in a buyer's market, and some vendors may have unrealistic expectations about what their property is worth. It's like somebody buys a Corvette for $65,000 from the factory and expects to sell it for $61,000 after 10 years when the car is realistically worth $18,000 or $20,000. And this is what's happening with the housing in New Zealand. A lot of people don't want to sell for less than what they bought it for. And why is this happening? Because a lot of them are leveraged to the tits. Their loan to value is maxed out, and they have you know what I mean. They have problems selling it less than what they bought it for because they're mortgaged right out. So the data very much concerned with what we're seeing, with values continuing to moderately drop after the sustained price growth. So with the New Zealand dual family income, housing needs to go down another like 52% in New Zealand for it to pan out. To get 1998 numbers back and in the economy flowing right, Housing needs to go 50+% down in New Zealand. The biggest average property values over 3 months of June occurred in Opatiki, where it was down 15.2% compared to the first quarter of the year, 3.8% compared to 12 months earlier. So market conditions are falling. We're seeing some developers offering new builds, recently constructed properties at discounts as a way to free up cash for their next project, Collins said. This is having a flow-on effect and overall value of new buildings or existing properties in these areas, he said. So here it is. House price index. And then here's your house price index June 2018. There's the changes in the different regions in New Zealand. Right here. But some of the houses went up way too much. Especially with the median income of $22,000 a year. In your house, the house in your area, look at this. 1.2 million, 1.2, 1.3, 900,000, 900,000, 900,000. I mean, what do you think? What do you expect is going to happen? New Zealand property sales remain subdued. Prices largely flat in June. Again, sharp downturn in prices in New Zealand. Less homes on, more homes being thrown on the market and less selling. So, the same article we read, just different words. And The Guardian. UK annual house prices rising at slower rate for 5 years. So UK dragging the rate down while best performing regions in East Midlands and West Midlands. So here you go. Best performing. UK house prices rising at the slowest annual rate for almost 5 years, according to official figures showing falling London property values dragging down. So London is bringing down the medium home price right across. There's London right there, still in a drop. See this negative here? London keeps falling. Northeast is still keeping itself above water, but London's bringing down everything else and bringing down the medium home price. Economists at PCW said that they expected London house prices to continue falling this year and next, while forecasting an overall UK growth for about 3% per year over the next decade. So it's on par with inflation, what it should be at, and with rising interest rates now in the UK going up in November, might see more houses on the market. And UK house prices slumped. Banned on surge in sellers. Number of homes put on the market rises 8.6%. There has been no increases in buyers. Again, guys, this is a very dangerous cocktail right here in the UK. 8.6% more homes on the market and no increase in buyers. So people aren't just buying anymore right now in the UK, especially people in Ireland and Scotland, and Edinburgh and most of England. They just can't afford to live anymore. And more houses will start to be thrown on the market, and a lot of them will be pulled off before 90 days. The contrast with London's depressed market is startling. In the capital, asking prices are down 1.7% over the year, fell another 0.5% in July alone. Meanwhile, it takes 67 days for a home to sell in London, a month longer than it takes in Scotland. Why? Because everyone's leaving London to go to Scotland, and now Scotland prices in Edinburgh are going through the roof right now. Within the capital, the central zone, one area is recording the biggest price falls, down 6.5% over the year and 1.2% in a month. London Zone 2, which is traditionally a more national and international market, guys, foreign investors, is reporting big price decreases, with the average property down nearly £8,000 in July alone to £752,000. So, international areas. Steve the Plumber says Kevin Thompson, housing as a whole makes up more than 25% of our GDP. That's really bad. Steve the Plumber says I don't take Visa, cash only. Steve says Kevin. Jeff O'Toole says, do you think the government is really propping this SHI up, not going into recession, or do you think they are just, or it's just obvious to do it? And then Leah says, we New Zealanders think we're special and it will never fall. Oh no, it's going down. It's going to go down. Steve the plumber with I deal with more in bigger corporations. Mr. and Mrs. Smith are difficult to deal with. The immigration on Kijiji working and out of his garage is a heck. He charges 35% less. And then Lilia, love your channel, Mike. Thank you so much. I love you too. And Kevin Thompson, guys, I'm pissed too. My wife made me go with the variable rate. Oh no. And then SPT says new car sales in BC, including Vancouver, down 40% on average the last 3 months. Oh, it's not because no one wants to buy a car. It's there's no more middle class to buy cars anymore. Everyone says, "Oh, I like taking the bus. I want to be green." And then you hand them the keys to a brand new Corvette. They're like, "Did I say I was green? No, I was just saying that. Here, thanks for the Corvette. See you guys." You know what I'm saying? And then Richard saying a 4-bedroom house in Spalding, West Australia, has been offered for $135,000. It has been on the market on and off for the past 5 years. It was bought for $390,000 in 2009. Jeff O'Toole says, that's crazy with the car sales. Of course. Guys, why do you think no one's going to NFL matches? You know when people were like, oh, empty seats in the NFL, empty seats in the WWF, World Wrestling Federation. No one's going to these things. So many empty seats and they have to hide it. So many empty seats at baseball. It's not that people don't want to go. It's that people can't afford to go. It's the middle class is disappearing. There's no more disposable income. Everyone's so focused on paying their rent that they got nothing else. Everyone's so focused. Imagine the lifestyle you have to live and all the stuff you have to cut back on in life that make you happy because you just have to put a roof over your head and you're working hard so you don't end up on the streets. It's depressing, people. And then someone saying that malls are empty. Yeah. Trust me, middle class is gone. Without the middle class, there's no more existence. The rich are going to pay the tax. The poor can't. It's the middle working poor. The people that didn't buy and save their money, or the people that didn't buy and can't afford to buy, are the ones that are going to have to pay for the ones. They're going to have to pay for the ones that did buy and went all loose with their money and then just walked away from everything. They have to, the people that couldn't buy have to pay for the people that had the big party for the last 6 years or 5 years, living off the coattails off their damn mortgages. And Leela says, New Zealand houses are hovels. Yes, they are. Meth testing homes, falling apart. You would never imagine when you go down to New Zealand and see some of the places that people are living in. It's a disaster. And then the article that was up the other day, New Zealand family asked to live in house with so many. New Zealand family of 4. It's here. New Zealand family of 4. There's one right here. They were asked to live in a house. Oh, with safety issues, right here. It's from the other day, this article. Housing, New Zealand tenant with kids forced to live in home with safety issues. Like, why is this happening? A Napier woman agreed to live in an unsuitable home in the middle of a construction zone after being turned down for more than 40 private rentals. Like, I know there's a story behind this, but still, it's getting really bad, people. It's getting really bad. I want to find that New Zealand article. 40 people to a house. Oh, I want to read this again, guys. This is like going in the past. I read this, I don't know, last year. 40 people to a property, 8 people to a room. Inside a nightmare that is renting in Queenston. So 8 people to a... Look at that. Oh, Margaret O'Brien's in Queenston. Yeah, Margaret's been watching me from New Zealand for years now. Look at this. 40 people to a property, 8 people to a room inside a nightmare that is renting in Queenston. Things are now so bad that people are starting to advertise themselves as tenants with perky online profiles, along with even to get out there. 200 and 300 responses to a Queenstown rental post is not unusual. And a child, be over the age of 35 or have a baby, and you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, they won't take you. You got to be a single guy in IT making $170,000 a year, and you know, the Facebook market in Queenstown for rent page, a closed group with over 19,000 members chasing perhaps 3,000 to 5,000 rental properties. That's how bad it is, guys. I mean, New Zealand's in a huge... This town, I mean... I want to see the outside of that house. I want to see if I can see the outside of that house. It doesn't show the outside of the house. It's almost like being in like a community prison, like in Mexico. They have in Brazil too. They have these community prisons, like you're like in a community like this, in this one facility, and everyone just cooks and does stuff and, you know, lives together type of thing. Margaret O'Brien says, no, I live in Auckland, but my husband is down there skiing at the moment. Okay. Mal Video says, is Amazon at fault in any way? Yeah, I know Amazon opened something there or something. I can't remember what it was. But 40 people and 8 people to a room. SPT says, empty bars, restaurants, trains, holiday resorts, RV parks, national parks, beaches, theaters, cinemas, retail stores, buses, strip clubs, motels, hotels, casinos, shop, malls, clothing, etc. Bankrupt, Greyhound lines, everything. Steve the Plumber says, where what? This article, this is in Queensland, Australia. 40 people to a property. Most Queenston houses are quite well built, harsh climate. And then Leah says, my landlord only accepts young doctors and lawyers, picky boogers. Yeah, for sure. Jeff O'Toole says, everyone was on variable rates and now we are 1 point higher now. Then Dedine256 says, oh my god, bed bugs and all other diseases that go with promiscuity. I can't even read. Jeff O'Toole, yep, people in the GTA are freaking out. Jeff O'Toole says $500K, another $450 a month. 14 people living partly in shattered rooms in one house in 5 rooms in Granville, Vancouver. Very common, if not the rule. So this is it, guys. This is our first world countries and where they're headed. Like, but the thing is, it's the great summer blame game for 2018. Do we blame the politicians? Do we blame the foreign investors? Do we blame the governments for not being, tacking down this inflow of illegal money? Do we blame the casinos for laundering money? Do we blame our real estate agents for lying to us? Do we blame the banks for approving a mortgage that we shouldn't have got? Do we blame the underwriters for approving the mortgage that shouldn't have been approved from the first time? Do we blame the lender for falsifying documents? Do we blame who do we blame? You know what? Just blame Donald Trump. That's what everyone's doing. Jeff O'Toole says every $450 in non-mortgage debt means that the average person qualifies for approximately $100K less of a mortgage. Maybe it's time to look at Russia. I hear it's up and coming. Yeah, Russia's up and coming right now. I think Iceland's up and coming right now too. I think Iceland's really kicking butt right now. I think Iceland got rid of their local bank. And let me go to news. If there's any Iceland news. It's about crypto miners. I'm just trying to see. It's all about crypto miners. Let's see. I know it's going up, so I know Iceland right now is doing really well right now. And ever since they got rid of their ever since they got rid of their bankers and their banksters and all the banking districts there and all the illegal, I think it was the UK or London was trying to put its debt onto Iceland and making Iceland pay for their debt. And then a few months after, they were saying that anyone that flies British Airways from Iceland is considered a bad person type of thing. Anyways. Yeah, so that's that. But I kind of wanted to throw this out there. I kind of wanted to finish off with this article, 40 people to a house. Like, how does one... Like, I mean, the odors. You know what? I might do a call-in show where people call in where they had 3 or 4 plus or more roommates and they could tell us how things were. Did they have a rodent issue? Did they have lice? Stuff like that. This stuff happens, right? 40 people, that's more than a classroom of people. You know, imagine that in one house. Anyways. Comments are still flowing, guys. Yep, guys, that's trends in the housing market. Mike in the Night. Mike Martins. Guys, I'm going to try for Saturday night to do a nice late night show of Mike in the Night. I promise I won't do housing this time because a lot of people got mad. I did Mike in the Night and I was talking about housing. We got to keep a balance on the show. That's why I do some video game reviews, so that the people that subscribe to me to watch my video game reviews aren't people that are all watching these conspiracy channels. So I get a flow of balanced subscribers, so it doesn't look so one-sided, you know what I'm saying? Steve, are you coming to visit me next week or what? To see if Steve's coming to visit me. I think he left me a message today. Kevin Thompson saying I want to go live. And yeah, we got to get Kevin Thompson in Glen Abbey. Were you talking about Glen Abbey, Oakville? I'm wondering what he meant by that. But anyways, okay, guys, if you're just tuning into the show, okay, Steve LaPlore said, Mike Martins looks pretty promising. Yeah, just call me when you're in town. I'll give you directions to my place. Anyways, guys, I want to thank everybody so much for joining me tonight and participating into the comment section. It means a lot to me. Guys, do not send me money on PayPal. Please don't. If you want to do something, just buy something from my eBay store. I sell tons of stuff every day. I'm packing and enjoying my retirement, if you want to call it that, or semi-retirement. Buy something from my eBay shop. There's a link. I'm not sure if there's a link in the description below. Or... oh, I got the old description. I'm going to fix that for you guys. I got the old description here. Oh, damn. From last week's show. Okay, guys, don't forget to join me Saturday night for Mike in the Night. Different topic. Okay, maybe we'll talk about cryptos. Maybe we'll talk about... you know, are people still getting married like they used to? What does marriage mean? Does it mean you get a tax break? Things like that. We're getting to talk about what's really, how this consumer market we're living in has changed our realities and how we're not functional human beings like we used to be like 30 years ago. Anyways, let me know. Comment below. And thanks for watching, guys. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.